Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I'm Maria Albina Michael, and with me is Abhishek Mukhopadhyay with the Midday News. The headlines. Rajya Sabha resumes discussion on motion of thanks to President Ramnath Kovind's address to both the Houses of Parliament. Campaigning gains momentum for the first two phases, Assembly elections in Uttar Pradesh and single-phase polls in Goa and Uttarakhand. Nominations for fourth phase of Assembly elections in Uttar Pradesh closes today. Over 168 crore COVID vaccine doses administered in the country so far. Recovery rate stands at 95.14%. Supreme Court refuses to postpone this year's graduate aptitude test in engineering GATE 2022 exams amid third wave. Today is the last day for registration for Pariksha Pe Charcha 2022. Government initiates action against 60 channels whose contents were against the safety and integrity of the country. IMD predicts heavy rain and snowfall in Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh for today and tomorrow. And in cricket, India to face England in the final of Under-19 World Cup at Antigua on Saturday, and ODI series between India-West Indies to begin on the 6th of February. As the number of COVID-19 cases is rising fast in several parts of the country, we appeal to our listeners to be vigilant and to get fully vaccinated and help others, including children between 15 and 18 years, get vaccinated. With the new Omicron variant of coronavirus causing concern, please continue to follow these three simple steps to stay safe. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact national helpline numbers 011-239-78046 and 1075. And now the news in detail. The Rajya Sabha has resumed discussion on motion of thanks to President Ramnath Kovind's address to both the Houses of Parliament. Participating in the discussion today, M. Thambidurai of AIADMK said the President's address highlighted government's achievements in the health, infrastructure, COVID management and other areas. He lauded the government's efforts to effectively deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. He also appreciated PM Ayushman Bharat scheme launched to build up the robust health infrastructure in the country. Bhavani Prasad of AGP appreciated the COVID-19 vaccination drive, saying that more than 70% of the adult population has been administered doses of vaccines. He said the country has developed indigenous vaccines as well as other equipment to fight against the pandemic within a short span of time. Intervening in the discussion, Minority Affairs Minister Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi said the dignity of the Prime Minister's post has been restored after 2014 when Narendra Modi became the Prime Minister. He said the corruption and red tapeism have been removed under this government. Mr. Naqvi added that national security as well as border security has been ensured by the government. The minister also talked about the abolition of triple talaq to provide dignified life to Muslim women. A.D. Singh of RJD also took part in the discussion, raising the issue of violence against a particular community in the country. Congress member Ripun Bora said rising inflation and unemployment were not mentioned in the President's address. He said no roadmap was presented to tackle these issues in the address. Questioning the disinvestment in PSUs, he said the present government has not created any PSUs during its tenure, whereas 23 PSUs have been privatized. Ramnath Thakur of JDU demanded opening of bank branches in every panchayat. He said the centre should talk to the government of Nepal to construct a high dam to check the flood problem in Bihar. He also demanded a special package for the state. Abdul Wahab of IUML and MP Ajit Kumar Bhuyan also expressed their views on the President's address. The discussion is underway. The government has initiated action against the 60 channels within 2 months whose contents were against the safety and integrity of the country. Replying to supplementaries on the news channels promoting anti-national activities, Minister of State for Information and Broadcasting L. Murugan said these channels include YouTube channels and Facebook accounts. He said 160 cases have been initiated against the channels. On the action taken against the TV channel Media One, the minister said the channel has to get the security clearance from the Home Ministry.
The government does not have any proposal to make it mandatory for graduates to register at employment exchanges in districts across the country. This was stated by Minister of State for Labour and Employment, Rameshwar Teli, in a written reply in the Rajya Sabha today. He said the registration at employment exchanges for availing employment-related services is voluntary. He said his ministry is implementing a national career service project to provide a variety of career-related services. More than 24 crore 54 lakh unorganized workers have registered on e-Shram portal. This was stated by the Minister of State for Labour and Employment, Rameshwar Teli, in a written reply in the Rajya Sabha today. The minister said the main objective of the portal is to create a national database of unorganized workers to facilitate delivery of social security and welfare schemes. All eligible registered unorganized workers are entitled to get the benefit of an accidental insurance cover of 2 lakh rupees under the Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana.
Minister of State for Atomic Energy and Space, Dr. Jitendra Singh, has said that Chandrayaan-3 is scheduled for launch in August this year. In a written reply to a question in the Lok Sabha yesterday, Dr. Singh said that based on the learnings from Chandrayaan-2 and suggestions made by the national level experts, the realization of Chandrayaan-3 is in progress. He said many related hardware and their special tests are successfully completed and its launch is scheduled for August 2022. Ministry of Health has said that 168 crore COVID vaccine doses has been administered to the eligible population of the country so far. In a tweet, the ministry said that India marches ahead with another achievement in its fight against COVID-19.
The Health Ministry said a total of 1,72,433 new cases were reported in the last 24 hours. India's active caseload stands at 15,33,921 and it is currently at 3.67%. The recovery rate is currently at 95.14%. A total of 2,59,107 people recovered in the last 24 hours and total recovery touched over 3 crore 97 lakh. The weekly positivity rate currently stands at 12.98%, while the daily positivity rate is at 10.99%. Today is the last day to participate in the 5th edition of Pariksha Pe Charcha. Pariksha Pe Charcha is an interactive program wherein students, parents and teachers from India and overseas interact with Prime Minister Narendra Modi to discuss and overcome the stress emerging out of examinations in order to celebrate life as an Utsav. The format of this program is proposed to be online mode like that of last year. School students of classes 9 to 12, teachers and parents will be selected to an online competition.
The Supreme Court today refused to postpone this year's Graduate Aptitude Test in Engineering GATE 2022 exams amid the third wave of the coronavirus disease. The Apex Court pointed out that delaying the exams might lead to chaos and uncertainty among students. The court also pointed out that the first and the second COVID-19 waves were different from the third, and in recent times as many as 20 exams conducted by government bodies had to be postponed similarly. With a green signal from the top court, the GATE 2022 exams will now be held physically as per schedule. Punjab and Haryana High Court today granted interim stay on the provision of 75% reservation in jobs to Haryana domiciles in the private sector. The state government had enacted a law, the Haryana State Employment of Local Candidates Act 2020, to grant this reservation to the Haryana domiciles, which was notified on 6 November 2021 and scheduled to come into effect on 15 January 2022. The bench of Justice Ajay Tiwari and Justice Pankaj Jain granted stay on petition moved by Faridabad Industries Association challenging the Act. The Act applies to jobs offering a maximum gross monthly salary or wages of 30,000 rupees. As per the law, violation of any provision under this Act was to be deemed as punishable offence.
Ministry of External Affairs organized an outreach program on export controls focusing on startups in various sectors of the economy. The outreach was aimed at enhancing awareness about regulations for export of sensitive dual-use goods and technology. The outreach program was organized in cooperation with the Indian Chamber of Commerce. About 200 industries and enterprises, including several startup companies, participated in the webinar. The outreach shared the relevance of export control systems in the context of India's integration with the global economy, international non-proliferation framework, in government's flagship initiatives of Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat. You were listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Rajya Sabha resumes discussion on motion of thanks to President Ramnath Kovind's address to both the Houses of Parliament. Campaigning gains momentum for the first two phases of assembly elections in Uttar Pradesh and single-phase polls in Goa and Uttarakhand. Nominations for fourth phase of assembly elections in Uttar Pradesh closes today. Over 168 crore COVID vaccine doses administered in the country so far. Recovery rate stands at 95.14%. Supreme Court refuses to postpone this year's Graduate Aptitude Test and Engineering GATE 2022 exams amid third wave. Today is the last day for registration for Pariksha Pe Charcha 2022. Government initiates action against 60 channels whose contents were against the safety and integrity of the country. IMD predicts heavy rain and snowfall in Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh for today and tomorrow. And in cricket, India to face England in the final of the Under-19 World Cup at Antigua on Saturday, and ODI series between India-West Indies to begin on the 6th of February. For quick news updates around the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts. चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो कुछ वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे. In poll-bound Uttar Pradesh, the electoral campaign has gained momentum for the first two phases of the seven-phase assembly elections and also for the single-phase polls in Goa and Uttarakhand. The star campaigners and prominent leaders of various political parties engaged in public rallies after finalization of the candidates for the first two phases. The door-to-door canvassing and virtual appeals to the voters also continue. The political activities have already begun in other poll-bound states, including Punjab and Manipur, with the party leaders deliberating in marathon meetings to finalize the electoral strategies and formations, even while giving shape to the lists of candidates. Meanwhile, the process of filing nominations for the fourth phase of assembly elections in Uttar Pradesh is scheduled to close today, while it is going on for the fifth phase, along with the first phase polling in Manipur. The filing of nominations for the sixth phase in UP as well as the second and last phase polling in Manipur will begin with the issuance of notification tomorrow. The sixth phase of polling in Uttar Pradesh will be conducted on the 3rd of March in 57 assembly constituencies from 10 districts. In addition, the second and last phase polling in Manipur will be held simultaneously. 22 seats in Manipur will go to polls in this phase. During the UP 6th phase and the second phase polling in Manipur, the nominations can be filed till 11th and the scrutiny will be undertaken on the 14th of February. In the second phase of assembly elections in Manipur, 22 seats spread over 10 districts will go to polls, out of which 11 seats are reserved for the scheduled tribes. Earlier, the picture of electoral battle during the second phase of polls and the single-phase polls in Goa and Uttarakhand also became clear after the withdrawal of the candidature. In Uttar Pradesh, 586 candidates are in the fray for 55 assembly seats going to polls during this phase, while 301 candidates are contesting for 40 seats in Goa and 632 candidates are vying for 70 seats in Uttarakhand. Ahead of assembly elections in Goa, sale of liquor will be banned in the state from 12th February from 5 p.m. onwards till the intervening night of 14th and 15th February. The ban will also be in force on 10th March, the day of counting. The state government also ordered that no liquor be transported within the state from 12th February till 15th midnight and on counting day. In Uttarakhand, postal ballot voting commenced from today and will continue till 8th February. 165 polling parties have been deployed for the purpose. In view of COVID, Election Commission has made provisions for voters above the age of 80 and persons with disabilities more than 40% to cast their votes from home through the facility of postal ballots. According to the Chief Electoral Office of the state, special provisions have been made for those voters who are unable to step out of their homes. To avail this facility, voters have to register with the returning officer, whereby a route chart will be prepared and election officers will go door to door to have these voters vote in their home. India Meteorological Department has issued an orange alert for Uttarakhand due to prediction of heavy to very heavy snowfall in the hills and rainfall in most parts of the state today and tomorrow. The IMD said that heavy rain and snowfall accompanied by thunderstorm is likely to take place at isolated places in Garhwal region today. Weather Department said Dehradun, Haridwar, Pauri and Tihri districts are likely to witness hail and lightning. Our correspondent reports from Uttarakhand that temperature has dipped further following rain at different places and snowfall at higher reaches of the state. It also affected election campaign in hilly areas. Following the COVID restrictions, leaders of political parties are going door to door to woo the voters. Talking to AIR News, IMD DG Mrityunjay Mahapatra said the snowfall and rain are also likely to occur in Himachal Pradesh and Jammu and Kashmir.
एक एक्टिव वेस्टर्न डिस्टर्बेंस 2 तारीख से 4 तारीख तक नॉर्थ वेस्ट इंडिया के ऊपर प्रभाव रखेगा। इसके प्रभाव में हिमाचल प्रदेश और उत्तराखंड और जम्मू कश्मीर लद्दाख एरिया में लगभग सभी जगह पर बारिश या तुषारपात होने का पूर्वानुमान किया गया है। मैदानी इलाके में जैसे हरियाणा, चंडीगढ़, दिल्ली, पंजाब, वेस्ट यूपी लाइट टू मॉडरेट रेनफॉल या थंडरस्टॉर्म होने का अनुमान है। ये सभी एक्टिविटी मैक्सिमम रहेगा 3 तारीख को। इसके बाद धीरे-धीरे कम होगा, मगर जैसे ही एक्टिव वेस्टर्न डिस्टर्बेंस ईस्टवर्ड मूव करेगा, ईस्टर्न पार्ट्स ऑफ इंडिया इसका प्रभाव भी 4 तारीख को देखने को मिलेगा।
Our Shimla correspondent reports that cold wave conditions has intensified in Himachal Pradesh as most of the higher reaches of the state are experiencing fresh snowfall, while many parts of the state are receiving rain since this morning. The state capital Shimla town received snowfall once again, while the higher reaches of the state have been experiencing moderate snowfall since last night. The state meteorological department has forecast more rain and snow in the state till Friday.
The birth anniversary of Sikh philosopher, reformer and freedom fighter Satguru Singh is being observed today. Born on the 3rd of February 1816 in the Khuka Sampradaya lineage, Satguru Singh was a great spiritual guru, thinker, seer and a social reformer. He is credited as being the first British Indian to use non-cooperation and boycott of British goods and services as a political tool. And now let's listen to our special program, Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav.
Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a nation. India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
Simon, go back! Simon, go back!
On 3rd February 1928, the Indian Statutory Commission, popularly known as Simon Commission, arrived in Bombay. The Commission was constituted to report on the working of the Government of India Act of 1919. The purpose of their visit was to study constitutional reform in British India and to suggest more such reforms. The Commission consisted of 7 members, all of whom were British, under the joint chairmanship of John Simon and Clement Attlee. Since the British administration had failed to include even a single Indian in the Commission, it was strongly opposed by national leaders and freedom activists.
Simon Commission! Simon Commission! Bharat Mata Ki Jai! Vande Mataram! Vande Mataram!
During the annual session of the Indian National Congress held at Madras in 1927, it was decided to boycott the Commission. On the arrival of the Commission in India, the entire country observed a hartal. Meetings were held all over the country to condemn the appointment of the Commission. The Commission was confronted by protesters who thronged every city where the Commission went. The British came down heavily on the strikes. There was firing at demonstrators in Madras and lathi charge at many places. the Central Legislative Assembly decided by a majority that it would have nothing to do with the commission. All over the country, the cry of "Simon, go back" was raised. In Lucknow, Govind Ballabh Pant suffered blows of police lathis. The lathis blows crippled Govind Ballabh Pant for life.
On October 30, 1928, when the commission visited Lahore, Lala Lajpat Rai led the people to protest against the commission. The protest was peaceful, but in an act of retaliation, James A. Scott, the then Superintendent of Police, ordered a lathi charge against the protesters. Lala Lajpat Rai was severely injured. In spite of being subjected to brutal blows, Lala Lajpat Rai addressed the crowd even before the arrival of medical help and stated that the blows struck at him were the final set of nails in British India's coffin. Unfortunately, Lala Lajpat Rai succumbed to his injuries on November 17, 1928.
Simon Commission nevertheless published a 2-volume report. It proposed provincial autonomy in India, but rejected parliamentary responsibility at the centre. The British government had seen the opposition the Simon Commission faced in India and tried to calm down the people by saying that the opinion of Indians will be taken into account in any such future exercise. Later, the British government held roundtable conferences in London to discuss the constitutional reforms in India.
We also remember freedom fighter Bhavani Prasad, who was martyred on 3rd February 1935. A political activist, Bhavani was born in 1914 at village Joydebpur in the district of Dhaka, now in Bangladesh. He got involved in Bengal's revolutionary movement and joined the Sri Sangha revolutionary group in Dhaka.
In 1934, Bhavani Prasad, along with his comrades Ravi Ranjan Banerjee, Manoranjan Banerjee and Ujjwala Majumdar, planned to assassinate the oppressive governor of Bengal, John Anderson, at the Lebong race course, Darjeeling, on the 8th of May 1934. Bhavani approached the governor and fired, but mistakenly shot a British woman. Bhavani was wounded in the exchange of fire with the police. He was caught and sent to jail. The court later sentenced him to death in the case. Bhavani Prasad was hanged on the 3rd of February 1935 in Rajshahi Central Jail. We salute the great martyr.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
आजादी के अमृत महोत्सव के पावन अवसर पर आकाशवाणी समाचार के कार्यक्रम परिक्रमा में बृहस्पतिवार को शाम 4:45 पर सुनिए देश की आजादी में अपना अमूल्य योगदान देने वाले भारतीय स्वतंत्रता संग्राम के सेनानियों की वीर गाथा।
Best wishes to all consumers for Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Hallmark ensures purity of gold. Always purchase hallmarked gold jewelry. For any consumer-related complaints, please contact National Consumer Helpline's toll-free number 14404. Issued in public interest by Department of Consumer Affairs, Government of India, Jago Grahak Jago. India says it is committed to send humanitarian aid to Afghanistan. The External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Arindam Bagchi said this in a press conference. According to diplomatic sources, Pakistan permitted India to deliver 50,000 metric tons of wheat to Afghanistan via its land route last year. The cargo is expected to begin in early February 2022. On 1st January, India supplied 500,000 100,000 doses of Covaxin to the war-torn country. An Australian newspaper, The Klaxon, has claimed that China's losses in the 2020 Galwan Valley border clash with India were much higher than reported. According to the newspaper's report, the confrontation between the two nations witnessed many Chinese soldiers drowning while crossing a fast-flowing sub-zero river in darkness. Following the hand-to-hand combat, China has repeatedly refused to disclose its total casualties. However, in February last year, China officially acknowledged that 5 Chinese officers and soldiers were killed in the clashes, the paper also claimed.
To celebrate India's success at Olympics and Para-Olympics 2021 and to honor the champions, the Public Works Department PWD Delhi has decided to dedicate a long stretch in North Delhi. The sports-themed stretch, the first of its kind, will be redeveloped and redesigned and named as Olympics Boulevard. Olympic champions like Neeraj Chopra, PV Sindhu, Ravi Dahiya and others will be honoured at this stretch with statues and sculptures. In the ongoing ICC Under-19 Cricket World Cup in Antigua, 4-time champions India will face England in the final on Saturday and will be aiming to extend the dominance in the competition. India produced an all-round display to eke out a comprehensive 96-run win in the semi-final against Australia in the semi-finals yesterday. Captain Yash Dal led the side from the front and scored a brilliant 110 in the same number of balls to help India pile 290 for 5 after electing to bat first. Chasing 291, Australia were bowled out for 194 in 41.5 overs with Vicky Ostwal taking 3 wickets while Nishant Sindhu and Ravi Kumar picking up 2 wickets each. Today Sri Lanka will take on Pakistan in the 5th place playoff and South Africa will play against Bangladesh in the 7th place playoff. The West Indies-India ODI series begins on the 6th of February. The first match will be played in the Narendra Modi Stadium in Motera. The ODI will be a very special and historic match as India will be playing its 1000th ODI. The Indian team will be the first cricket team in the world to achieve this feat. As per the original schedule, West Indies were slated to play 3 ODIs in Ahmedabad, Jaipur and Kolkata and 3 T20Is in Cuttack, Visakhapatnam and Thiruvananthapuram. However, due to a surge in COVID-19 cases across the country in the last month, the BCCI decided to hold the white ball series in just 2 venues, Ahmedabad and Kolkata.
At the stock markets, the Sensex at the Bombay Stock Exchange declined 455 points or 0.8% to trade at 59,103 in the afternoon trade at 1:32 p.m. The Nifty at the National Stock Exchange dropped 133 points or 0.8% to 17,647. Now let us take a look at the weather update for the day. The national capital Delhi will have thunderstorm with rain. It recorded a minimum temperature of 11 degrees Celsius while the maximum will be around 18 degrees. Mumbai will have partly cloudy sky. It noted a minimum temperature of 18 degrees Celsius while the maximum is expected to be around 27 degrees. Chennai will have partly cloudy sky and temperature will vary between 18 and 32 degrees Celsius. Kolkata will have partly cloudy sky with possibility of moderate rain or thunderstorm. The city noted a minimum temperature of 17 degrees Celsius, while maximum is expected to be around 28 degrees. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Rajya Sabha resumes discussion on motion of thanks to President Ramnath Kovind's address to both the houses of Parliament. Campaigning gains momentum for the first 2 phases assembly elections in Uttar Pradesh and single-phase polls in Goa and Uttarakhand. The nominations for 4th phase of assembly elections in Uttar Pradesh closes today. Over 168 crore COVID vaccine doses administered in the country so far. Recovery rate stands at 95.14%. Supreme Court refuses to postpone this year's graduate aptitude test in engineering GATE 2022 exams amid 3rd wave. Today is the last day for registration for Pariksha Pe Charcha 2022. Government initiates action against 60 channels whose contents were against the safety and integrity of the country. IMD predicts heavy rain and snowfall in Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh for today and tomorrow. And in cricket, India to face England in the final of the Under-19 World Cup at Antigua on Saturday. And with that, we end the midday news.